Good morning. I'd like to ask the clerk to call the roll.
Senator Locke. Here. Senator Deeds.
Here.
Senator McDougall. Senator Lucas.
Aye.
Madam Chair, you have quorum.
This morning we have a lengthy docket. The staff will summarize similar to identical bills, and I will also ask them to summarize and give the patron the opportunity to elaborate if necessary. So with that, I'll turn it over to Tyler.
Madam Chair, the first bill is House Bill 1131, Delegate Carr. This relates to removing the city of Richmond as an eligible host city for casino gaming. It's identical to Senate Bill 541, Senator Bagby, which passed the Senate 40 yes, 0 no.
Madam Chair, move the report.
It's been moved and seconded that the bill be reported. Please open the roll.
You can
do voice vote because it's subcommittee.
That calls for a voice vote. I'm forgetting I'm in subcommittee. I'm not in the big committee. That will require a voice vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Thank you. Tyler?
Madam Chair, the next bill is House Bill 590, Delegate Hayes, relating to electronic gaming devices. This bill is now identical to Senate Bill 212, Senator Rouse, which passed the Senate 32 yes, 8 no.
Move the report.
It's been moved and seconded that the bill be reported. Madam Clerk, will you please open the roll? No, all say aye. It's too early in the morning. Tyler.
Yes. Madam Chair, the next bill is House Bill 558, Hernandez. This relates to a constitutional amendment for a property tax exemption for surviving spouses. It's identical to Senate Bill 4, McPike, which passed the Senate 38 yes, 0 no.
Move the report.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the bill be reported. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Tyler.
Madam Chair, the next bill is House Bill 785, Delegate Herring. This relates to the tax treatment of certain energy storage systems, which allows 100% exemption if the taxing locality has implemented a revenue share. It's identical to Senate Bill 640, Durant, which was passed by indefinitely by the committee, 15 yes, 0 no.
I'm going to make the motion. Do you want to?
This.
Madam Chair,
Madam Chair.
may I be heard on the bill? Or
Yes.
are you all going to?
No, we're waiting for you to comment.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair, and thank you for your indulgence. And I will be brief. This bill does come from the Virginia Bar Association and of the tax section of the Virginia Bar Association. It's a technical amendment that resolves two conflicting code sections to ensure that tax exemptions passed by our body are actually available for energy storage and pollution control systems. And Madam Chair, I'll be very brief. Essentially, the problem is this. We have conflicting code sections, and what has happened is that through the years, we keep adding, and it's basically the code's a mess. So this bill will allow 100% exemption for those that where we have a local revenue sharing agreement. And so that's basically simply all the bill does. I do agree, and I don't know what staff has informed you, this whole section does need to be rewritten, but for the year, at least, I think we need to make this change to clean up the code.
Madam Chair, the section does need to be rewritten, but we set a dangerous precedent if we treated a House bill different than a Senate bill. And I'm going to make a motion to PBI. Second.
It's been moved. It's been moved and seconded that the bill be passed by indefinitely. Madam Clerk, please open the roll for reporting.
Madam Chair, we can do a voice vote.
Thank you. See you all later.
All in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. I'll wake up in a minute.
Madam Chair, the next bill is House Bill 526, Delegate Krizik, relating to the registration fees for charitable organizations. This bill reduces the fees for the registration of charitable organizations that solicit contributions. It's identical to Senate Bill 408, Durant, which was passed by indefinitely in the committee, 10 yes, 5 no.
Madam Chair, I heard what you just did and said, but I think that this one's a little bit different because back when that bill was killed in the Senate, you were unsure of what it actually did. And I remember watching the video, and there was a lot of questions and confusion. But what this does, and this is the area of law that I practice, charity law, and all this does is it cuts all the charity fees so that if charities want to come into Virginia to fundraise, it cuts their fees by about $1 million total. And right now in the code, that money is stuck in VDAX. So this would just take that money and make it so that in the future charities would spend $1 million less.
Madam Chair, this bill takes about $900,000 a year out of the general fund. We can't treat it differently than we treat Senator Durant's bill, and I move to PBI.
You've heard the motion and a second that the bill be passed by indefinitely. Please say yes or no
General fund.
for PBI. Aye.
Madam Chair, the next bill is House Bill 261, Delegate McNamara, relating to income tax conformity. This bill clarifies certain rolling conformity provisions that were passed last year. It's identical to Senate Bill 459 Marsden, which the committee continued. 13 yes, 2 no.
Any questions of the committee? Patron, you want to have something to say, I'm sure.
Yes, thank you very much, Senator. I'm very happy that the Senate cognate was not killed by this committee but continued. So I'm here to continue it. This is just, I think it got kind of sideways in committee, but all this is a technical amendment that clarifies the code. There's been an interpretation from tax on 2 different determinations on what the correct clarification is. The latest clarification is what this bill does, and it does say that being said, tax would welcome if the General Assembly would clarify the legislation this session. That's what this intends to do. It is purely technical change to clarify what we thought we did last year.
Any questions of the committee?
Madam Chair, I'd like just to ask staff a question. Does this suggest that we could have up to a negative $75 million a year revenue impact on this?
Madam Chair, Senator Deeds, yes, there's the cumulative revenue impact trigger of $75 million before rolling conformity would stop.
In light of that, Madam Chair, I don't see how we can treat this differently than we treated the Senate bill, and I'd move to carry the bill over.
Second. You've heard a motion and a second that the bill be carried over. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Noes have the same right? Aye.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Bill is carried over.
Madam Chair, the next bill is House Bill 1483, Delegate McQuinn. This relates to statute of limitations, penalties, and interest related to the local mills tax. It requires a city utilizing a director of finance to assess or collect, using a director of finance to collect taxes to apply voluntary mill taxes to the tax return that accompanies such payments. This is identical to the patron substitute that was offered before this committee, Senate Bill 294, Senator DeSteff, which the committee passed by indefinitely 10 yes, 5 no.
Delegate McQuinn.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. That last part, he didn't have to necessarily say that, but anyway, thank you.
I'm sorry.
Good morning, Madam Chair. This particular bill is one that we had, because of a controversial issue that occurred in one of the localities in Virginia. We were brought this forward to try to create a smoother transition in terms of taxes being paid to the localities, and for those who are particularly in the restaurant arena, for them to have a better way of helping to address it, and for the localities have a better way to receive what's coming in terms of the resources, the revenues. And so we're asking that this particular bill would just require localities to apply voluntary payments by taxpayers to a tax return that accompanies the payment of the taxpayer's written instruction. Some of these things it tallied up to thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, because as the money came in and the taxpayers were expecting it to go into one direction or at one particular area of taxes that they owe, they went to, I guess, the taxes that were further, I guess, that was accrued, and so those taxes, it created a situation where the taxes kept tallying up, and the interest rate and the penalties. And so this is just trying to fix some situations that have occurred that these folks may have a smoother transition, and not just in one locality, but there were other localities that weren't even reported, from our understanding, that were having problems in this area as well.
Thank you for your comments. Senator Locke, you and Q?
I have a question for the delegate.
Yes.
Delegate McQuinn, has the locality in question rectified the problem?
They are working on it. And they have there are individuals today from the locality that had the problem, the bigger one that created the situation for this bill to come through. But they're here today. They're working on it. There are many things that have been taken care of from my understanding. Yes.
Madam Chair, I have a second question.
Senator Locke.
Delegate, would this apply statewide to all localities?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Madam Chair, I have a
Senator Locke.
Given that we PBI'd the Senate version of this, I would move that we pass by indefinitely House Bill 1483.
Second.
You've heard a motion and a second that the bill be passed by indefinitely. All in favor, say aye. Those opposed, no. Aye.
All right. Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Okay.
Madam Chair, the next bill is House Bill 339, Delegate Thomas. This relates to the motor vehicle sales and use tax, and it's an exemption. It exempts certain transfers from the motor vehicle use and sales tax, provided that the entities hold a majority interest in both parties. It's, I think, adding LLC to LLC's transfers. It's identical to Senate Bill 103, Sturtevant, which was passed by indefinitely in the committee. 14 yes, 1 no.
Madam Chair, this is identical to Senator Sturtevant's bill, and I think we have to pass this bill by indefinitely.
Second.
Delegate Reed, that's not Delegate Thomas.
No, you said 366, right?
339. You've heard a motion and a second that the bill be passed by indefinitely. All in favor, say aye. Those opposed, no. Aye. The bill passed by indefinitely. Tyler?
Madam Chair, the next bill is House Bill 711, Delegate Torian. This is the 9C bond bill that's identical to your bill, Senate Bill 599, which passed the Senate 40 yes, 0 no.
Move to report if it's identical.
You've heard the motion and a second that the bill be approved. All in favor, say aye. Those opposed, no. Thank you. Tyler.
Madam Chair, the next bill is House Joint Resolution 45, Delegate Tran, relating to a constitutional amendment for property tax exemption for certain surviving spouses. It's identical to SJ3 McPike, which passed the Senate 40 yes, 0 no.
Identical, move to report.
You've heard the motion and the second that the bill be reported. All in favor, say aye. Noes, same right. Aye. The bill is passed.
Madam Chair, the next bill is House Bill 213, Delegate Watts, relating to increasing the admissions inspection programmer pay and then the fee. It's identical to Senate Bill 453, Marsden, which passed the Senate 25 yes, 14 no.
Move to report.
There's a motion and a second that the bill be reported. All in favor, say aye. Those no. Aye. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. You're welcome. The bill is reported. 1 no. Yes. Now we will move to the section of House bills that are similar to Senate bills.
Madam Chair, the first one's House Bill 1436, Delegate Anthony. This bill relates to the sales tax revenue, and it adds an entertainment arena to the list of authorized public facilities for a qualifying locality to issue bonds for their construction and retain the sales and use tax revenue generated within such facility. The difference between the Senate bill is this bill adds Henrico to the list of localities eligible to issue bonds. The similar Senate bill is Senate Bill 523, Williams-Graves, which was left in the committee.
My mic is off, I'm sorry. Good morning, Delegate Anthony.
Good morning, Madam Chair. Yes, exactly. This does match Senator Lucas's 2023 Senate bills, SB 1258, which required reenactment in 2024. And yes, we did add the County of Henrico. We understand that there is a negative connotation with any word that says arena. Not providing a vehicle for the Northern Virginia situation. However, we just want to make sure that the localities listed in this particular bill are able to collect sales tax revenue for the use of those funds. Thank you.
Senator Deeds.
Madam Chair, consistent with Senator Williams-Graves' bill, I move that we pass the bill by for the day.
There's a motion and a second that the bill be passed by for the day. All in favor say aye. Noes have the same right.
Aye.
Aye. The bill is passed by for the day.
Thank you.
Title.
Madam Chair, the next bill is House Bill 1087, Delegate Coiner, relating to the College and Career Ready Virginia Program and Fund. This establishes the College and Career Ready Program and Fund to ensure opportunities for students to access dual enrollment classes in high school. This bill is similar to Senate Bill 627, Madam Chair, which is your bill, which passed the Senate 30 yes, 0 no. The difference between the House bill and the Senate bill is the Senate bill directs a study and a report to the joint subcommittees on K-12 and higher education funding policies by July 1st, 2025.
There is a committee sub.
Madam Chair, I move that we conform this to Senate Bill 627.
There's a motion and a second that the bill be, that the substitute be added to House Bill 1087. All in favor say aye. Aye. Noes have the same right.
Then I move to report the bill.
Second. It's been moved and seconded that the bill be reported. All in favor say aye. Noes have the same right. Aye. Thank you.
Madam Chair, the next bill is House Bill 790, Delegate Hope. This relates to the purchase of tobacco products and the sale of those products. It prohibits internet sales of liquid nicotine and other prohibitions selling of liquid nicotine to underage people. It's similar to Senate Bill 582, Senator Eben, which passed the Senate 40 yes, 0 no. The difference is Senate Bill 582 provides the authority to ABC and VDACs on enforcement rather than tax.
Madam Chair.
There's a committee substitute.
I move that we adopt the committee substitute, which conforms the bill to Senate Bill 582.
There's a motion and a second that the substitute be agreed to. All in favor say aye. Aye.
Now I move to report the bill.
There's a motion and a second that the bill be reported. All in favor say aye. Noes have the same right. Aye.
Madam Chair, the next bill is House Bill 523, Delegate Krizik, relating to charitable gaming organizations' use of predetermined percentage of receipts for its expenses. This bill reduces the administrative and audit fee for qualified organizations from 1/2 to 1/4 of 1% and requires the 1/4 fee to be deposited into the Problem Gambling Treatment Support Fund.
Committee substitute for this bill as well.
The committee substitute conforms to the bill to Senate Bill 344, Madam Chair, and I move we adopt the committee substitute.
Second. It's been moved and seconded that the committee substitute be agreed to. All in favor say aye. Noes have the same right. Aye.
Now I move to report the bill.
Second. It's been moved and seconded that the bill be reported with a substitute. All in favor say aye. Aye. Noes have the same right. Thank you.
Madam Chair, the next bill, House Bill 698, has to do with cannabis control in the retail market. It is the bill before you is similar to Senate Bill 448, Senator Rouse's bill, which passed the Senate 2119. And while there was a potential agreement that has not been yet reached quite as of yet, and so there is a committee substitute which takes it back to the way Senator Rouse's bill, Senate Bill 448, left the Senate, except for the fact that the fees would go at 75% to, I believe, the Equity Loan Fund, but the attorney is here if we need a better explanation.
I move we adopt the committee substitute.
There's a motion and a second that the committee substitute be agreed to. All in favor say aye. Aye. Noes have the same right. And we'd like to have some clarification from the staff attorney on the committee substitute.
Madam Chair, It was my understanding what we would be doing is taking the compromise version of the bill, which is the version that left the Senate Rehab Committee, lower from 100% to 75% the amount of license fees that would go to the Cannabis Equity Business Loan Program for 12 months. And 3, conform the tax structure of the bill to the version of Senate Bill 448 as it left this committee prior to crossover.
Thank you.
Then I move to report the committee substitute.
It's been moved and seconded that the committee substitute be agreed to. Did we do that already?
We just have to report
Okay.
the bill.
There's a motion and a second that the bill be reported with the substitute. All in favor say aye. Aye. No, same right? We're good.
No.
Got one no.
Usual suspect.
Madam Chair, the next bill is House Bill 960, Delegate Lopez, relating to the historic rehabilitation tax credit. It's similar to Senator Williams Graves' Senate Bill 556 because it increases the per taxpayer credit cap from 5 to 10 million. However, Delegate Lopez's bill sets the aggregate amount of credits that may be claimed by all taxpayers at 75 million each fiscal year.
Good morning.
Morning.
Madam Chair, there's a committee substitute that conforms this bill at 556, and I move the committee substitute.
Second.
There's a motion and a second that the committee substitute be agreed to. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Then I move to report the bill.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the bill be reported with the substitute. All in favor say aye. No, they're saying right. The bill is reported. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Senator.
Madam Chair, the next bill is House Bill 1070, Delegate Moorfield, relating to the Southwest Regional Recreation Authority. It exempts the authority from the Virginia Procurement Act and requires the board and authority to adopt policies for the procurement consistent with the authority given to VEDP and the Tourism Authority. This bill is similar to Senate Bill 163, Hackworth, which the committee continued to next year. 10 yes, 5 no.
Thank you. Delegate Moorfield.
Yes, ma'am. Madam Chair, good morning. The substitute that the Senate Ag Committee adopted would narrow the scope of the original bill. The bill that you have before you would make the Southwest Recreation Authority not subject to the Virginia provisions of the Virginia Procurement Act. And so this would enable them to operate more efficiently. This would be similar to what other authorities are doing across the Commonwealth. And so the original bill that Senator Hackworth patron, we were concerned, and I know that the Senate Finance was concerned that there could have been a potential fiscal impact, and this substitute would ensure there is no fiscal impact.
Madam Chair, the Senate budget contains $1 million each year for the authority's benefit. I don't think we can treat this bill differently than we treated Senator Hackworth's bill, and so I'd move to carry the bill over.
Second.
There's a motion and a second that the bill be carried over. All in favor of that motion say aye. Aye. One no. Have a good morning.
All right. Thank you all. Have a good day.
Madam Chair, the next bill is House Bill 25, Delegate Reed. This establishes the retail sales and use tax holiday in August. Madam Chair, this is similar to your bill, Senate Bill 116. The only difference is Senate Bill 116 has a 5-year sunset date of July 1st, 2030.
We do have a committee
amendment.
We have a committee amendment.
I'd move that amendment that basically conforms this to the Senate bill.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the House Bill 25 be amended. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
No, same right.
Now I move to report the bill.
It's been moved and seconded that the bill be reported as amended. All in favor, say aye. No, same right. 4 ayes. 4? Yes. Thank you. Now House Bill 366.
Madam Chair, the next bill is House Bill 366, Delegate Reed, relating to Virginia National Guard Tuition Assistance Program and the provision relating to eligibility for grants. This bill is similar to Senate Bill 219 Sturtevant, which was continued in the committee.
Madam,
Delegate Reed.
Yes, Madam Chair. As I think we discussed, one of the things that had changed in this piece of legislation as opposed to the one that originated in the Senate is that on line 19 we removed 2 words. The 2 words were "and fees," and therefore, based upon the input from the House appropriation, this will have no fiscal impact. There was a concern that if we allowed this to be for tuition and fees, that fees could creep up and that it would have an impact. And so now this puts it back in a posture that would have no fiscal impact, and the only amount of grants that can be done by the Adjutant General would be whatever it is that we actually appropriate in any given year.
Senator Deeds?
Madam Chair, again, I just think we set a dangerous precedent if we treat House bills differently than we treated Senate bills. I'd move to carry this one over.
Second.
There's a motion and a second that the bill be carried over. All in favor say aye.
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 Thank you, Madam Chair.
The bill is carried over. Delegate Reed. We have other bills in the next block, starting with House Bill 1373. Delegate Ballard.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. So House Bill 1373, it's just a technical adjustment in the code for the Roanoke Higher Education Authority, and really the crux of the bill is it would allow the authority to provide non-credit workforce training where community colleges are not meeting this need. So this would align the Roanoke Higher Education Authority with other higher education authorities across the Commonwealth, and there's no fiscal impact on this legislation.
Any questions, comment from the committee?
Madam President, Madam Chair.
Senator Deeds?
It's my understanding the House budget has $75,000 a year to conduct a needs assessment for a new workforce academy, and then $170,000 a year for a new career and workforce training coordinator. The Senate budget has $75,000 a year for operational support. So a lot of this is being handled in the budget. I'd move to carry this bill over and refer it to the Joint Subcommittee on Higher Education Funding Policies to evaluate.
And I'll second it.
There's a motion and a second that the bill be carried over. All in favor of that motion, please say aye. Noes have the same right. Aye. The bill is carried over.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members
Have
of
a
the
good
committee.
day, Delegate Ballard.
You too.
Okay, I'm looking on the queue for the sign-up sheet. Delegate Jones here? Yes, Delegate Jones.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the committee. I have two bills.
Go right ahead. Shoot.
HB 1503 would authorize
It is, yes.
would authorize localities to establish an ordinance enabling treasurers to enter into payment plans with taxpayers for omitted taxes. Those omitted taxes are errors either in the assessment or under assessment that treasurers can enter into a payment plan. This aligns with a similar provision for delinquent property taxes. This bill has received endorsements from the Treasurers Association of Virginia and VACO.
Any questions of the patron?
Second.
Well, there's a motion to report. All in favor say aye. The bill is reported.
Thank you. Madam Chair, I have another bill,
Second bill.
1535.
Yes.
HB 1535 aims to provide localities with the necessary tools to address challenges in its mills tax collection, allowing localities the flexibility to offer a seller's commission not to exceed 5% to businesses, even if they are delinquent in their tax payments. At present, local governments have the authority to grant a seller's commission to businesses. However, the businesses that are delinquent in their tax payments are not eligible to collect those taxes.
Delegate, is there an impact to the locality in any negative way if this is passed?
No, ma'am. What it simply seeks to do is to allow individuals to to recoup the fees for collecting that local mills tax and then just receive that offset from the locality. But there is no burden on a locality.
Any further questions of the patron?
I seem to I believe that this would have an indeterminate negative impact on the locality if this is put into effect. So.
Well, again, it's just simply fees that they can give back. So it's dollars that they've already collected from a self-reported meals tax, but because they're delinquent, they're not able to receive those funds. So this is just simply allowing them to give those disbursements to the businesses, to the restaurants, whether they're delinquent or not in their taxes. So it's money that they would pay back if they were not delinquent.
Senator Locke.
Madam Chair. And would this be statewide?
Yes, ma'am, it would be.
That makes a difference.
With that, Madam Chair, I would move that we pass this by indefinitely.
Second.
There's a motion and a second that the bill be passed by indefinitely. All in favor of that motion say aye. Noes have the same right.
Thank
Delegate
you, Madam
Jones,
Chair.
that bill passed by indefinitely.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
50-50. Have a good day. Delegate Martinez. You have House Bill 4?
Yes, ma'am. I want to thank the committee, Madam Chairman and committee, for letting me present my bill. I was on the Leesburg Town Council for over 20 years, and near the end of my service as Vice Mayor of Leesburg, the Code of Virginia with the following Article 12, Disposable Plastic Gag Tax, which had 4 sections, I forgot my glasses. The first section had 3 subsections that granted counties and cities the authority to impose a 5-cent tax on disposable plastic bags used by consumers at a grocery store. HB 4 adds an additional subsection that specifies any town situated in a county that has imposed a disposable plastic bag tax can collect the revenue from that tax generates at stores within their town limits. It is important to note that this piece of legislation does not raise taxes. It merely redirects existing revenues to towns with the purpose to help environmental programs established in the towns. In the instance of Leesburg, it will support the town's recycling program, litter prevention and collection programs, and residential, environmental, and education programs. So I would like to reiterate that this is not imposing a tax. It's taking a tax that is collected by the towns and distributing the revenue back to the towns to help with their environmental programs.
These bags taxes have been worked on for a long time, haven't they, Senator Deeds?
I move to report the bill.
Second.
It's been moved and second that the bill be reported. All in favor say aye. Aye. The bill is reported.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Delegate.
Committee.
Delegate Corner.
Good morning, Madam Chair.
Good morning again.
I have before you House Bill 1083, which the intent of this bill is to seek to leverage VOE, our Office of Education Economics, to do what its mission statement says with more resources and shifting our longitudinal data system over to VOE. This legislation is intended to break down the silos between state agencies, provide more transparency and access for us as legislators, but also citizens, to all of our data from our earliest kids, kindergarten through workforce, so that we can see that our policies that we're making, our money that we're investing, we can make the best decisions possible with the best data systems that we can get. Many other states have started moving this direction ahead of us. I would be happy to answer any questions that the subcommittee has.
Any questions of the patron?
Madam Chair, my understanding is there's a committee substitute, and I'd move the committee substitute.
Second.
There's a motion and a second that the substitute be agreed to. All in favor say aye.
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 Now, staff could maybe explain what the substitute difference it makes.
Madam Chair, Senator Deeds, the committee substitute would direct SHEV and the Office of Education Economics to identify and report on opportunities to improve the Virginia longitudinal data system. That report would be due by November 1st, 2024.
Okay, I'd move to report the bill.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second that the bill be reported as amended. All in favor of that motion say aye. No, same right. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Have a good day. Delegate Watts, you're up again. You have House Bill 884.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. 884 deals with Planning District 8 only, and it deals with a long-standing problem of what I have labeled in my files for a couple of years, macho mufflers, the loud noise mufflers. But it also deals with the problem of measuring sound. What is disruptive to one person is not to another person, and or it can be an issue as far as predatory stops. So what this bill then does is uses the fact that Planning District 8 has admissions inspections because we've been under the Clean Air Act forever, and uses the opportunity to use several of those emission stations so that the muffler can be accurately measured at the tailpipe, the industry standard of 95 decibels. It excludes anything that is as manufactured. It gives the individual the opportunity to do any time within 30 days, which includes Saturday and hours that certainly any court action would not accommodate. And it also allows the individual to come back a second time and have the muffler measured. Should the muffler still not comply, it would be a $250 fine collected at the time that the registration of the vehicle is up for renewal.
Any questions of the patron? Senator Locke.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I believe that there's a one-time cost to DMV of nearly $194,000 for programming to incorporate this information about noise violations. And also, DCJS estimates one-time funding of $30,000 to support a contract to develop the training standards required by this bill. And Senator Marston had Senate Bill 714, which is the cognate to House Bill 884. And we continued his bill to 2025. And I would move that we do the same thing here and continue House Bill 884 to 2025, and that's my motion.
Second.
There's a motion and a second that the bill be carried over. All in favor of that motion, please say aye. Aye. Thank you, Delegate Watts. Next on the sign-up sheet is Delegate Runyon.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the committee.
Good morning.
House Bill 464 deals with tax exemption status for nonprofits. The purpose of the bill is to allow our nonprofit, in particular food pantries in my part of the world, to more effectively deal with the most recent food inflation. What we do, there's currently a threshold of $1 million of gross annual revenue that requires, the tax department requires that entity to have a financial audit performed when you exceed that amount to maintain their sales tax exemption. And in my particular circumstance, food pantry went above that, they could save $700 in sales tax by performing a $3,000 financial audit. So it didn't make a lot of sense. I will say it's important to note that the current tax regulations require all entities that exceed $750,000 a year in annual revenue to have a review performed by a CPA. So it's the next step down from an audit. We're not having financial statements that are completely not looked at in this situation. So what this bill does is raises the threshold from $1 million to $1.5 million, which is about the food inflation we've seen, the percentage of food inflation we've seen for the last 4 or 5 years. There is no fiscal impact to localities or to the state, according to the FISC that was presented earlier, Madam Chair.
I understand that there is a technical amendment.
I'd move the technical amendment. Second.
It's been moved and second that the technical amendment be agreed to. All in favor say aye.
Aye. Then I'll move to report the bill with the amendment.
There's a motion and a second that the bill be reported as amended. All in favor say aye. Aye. Bill is reported.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee.
You're welcome. Delegate Kilgore. You didn't have to wait until last this time.
Thank you. Nice to see you again, Senator Deeds. We spent a lot of time together last night. I think there's I think you got a substitute.
You have
Committee substitute.
You have a committee substitute.
Second.
There's a motion and a second that the committee substitute be agreed to. All in favor say aye. Now, if we could just get staff to explain to us what the substitute.
Madam Chair, the committee substitute would return the definition of cigarette for purposes of the cigarette tax back to what it was in 2019. There was some concern that we would be out of compliance with the master settlement agreement if that change wasn't made. We also create a subset within the definition of cigarette for a cigarette intended to be heated, which means a cigarette containing tobacco that produces an inhalable aerosol with the characteristics of heated tobacco products as they are defined under current law. We would retain the definition of heated tobacco products in code, but distinguish them from cigarettes intended to be heated by saying that they are a product other than a cigarette intended to be heated with that inhalable aerosol and those other characteristics. Further, the bill would provide a tax on cigarettes intended to be heated, the cigarette tax at a 2.25 cents per stick rate, and then there are two enactment clauses. The first there's one enactment clause directing tax to develop a stamp for cigarettes intended to be heated and requires that stamp be developed prior to their certification and sale.
Madam Chair, does that describe the committee substitute?
Madam Chair, Senator Deeds, yes.
Yes.
Delegate Kilgore, would you like to respond?
No, I'm fine with the committee substitute, Madam Chair. And I appreciate the chair's hard work and the staff's hard work on the issue.
Thank you. Any questions of the patron? Motion?
Move to report.
There's a motion and a second that the bill be reported with the technical amendment. All in favor say aye. Aye.
Thank you.
The bill is reported.
Thank you.
Delegate Sickles.
Let me see. Next is Delegate Sickles. Delegate Sickles? Yes.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the
Good morning,
committee.
Delegate Sickles.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, do you want me to continue now?
House Bill 591.
Yes, ma'am. This bill is technical in nature, but really important to the functioning of our reinsurance program. We started a few years ago. Reinsurance is for people who buy insurance on the individual market that don't have a group plan, don't have employer benefits. We've been able to reduce the cost of the premiums for people who buy that in that sector. And with the new exchange that we have now a record number of 400,000 Virginians that buy their insurance on our new Virginia exchange. Anyway, this is not about that. This is part and parcel of it. When an individual exceeds a certain expenditure during a year, the reinsurance fund kicks in, which lowers the risk for the health insurance carriers. That's why we've got a substantial premium reduction for everybody who buys in the individual market. So what happened was last year, the Bureau of Insurance said that they didn't know what target reduction the General Assembly wanted to have. We had set a 15% target reduction before and gotten more than that, and so they told the carriers, give us your premiums for next year without reinsurance, not assuming reinsurance, and the price went way up, made the front page of the RTD and other newspapers, and so we put a fix in the budget. And what this bill does is just says if the General Assembly doesn't set a new target reduction rate, it's going to be the same as it was last year. That's all it does. That's what the language says. And we have a 15% target now, and we've been getting more reduction in 15%, but that's the reduction that would be, unless we change it in the General Assembly, that's what the target would be. There may be someone from the health, it's a little bit technical issue. We might have someone here from the health insurance industry who might want to say it's important to them for sure, and they've been able to sell more insurance and get more people insured because of this program.
Senator Deeds.
I move to report the bill.
Second. It's been moved and seconded that the bill be reported. All in favor say aye. Aye. Delegate Sickles, the bill is reported.
Well, thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
You're very welcome.
See you soon.
Real soon. Delegate Cousins, you're up next on the sign-up sheet.
Good morning.
Good morning. You have House Bill 1495?
Yes.
Go right ahead.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair, members of the subcommittee. HB 1495 asks the Department of Workforce Development and Advancement to establish an apprenticeship program for the film industry in Virginia. The House version of the budget included $2 million in investment over the biennium. As we continue to invest in film and television production in the Commonwealth, there's an increased need for training a diverse pool of Virginia workers to serve in these roles. What we have found is that when these projects come to the Commonwealth, they often bring staff from other states to work for the duration of the production. Creating a pathway through our state's registered apprenticeship program creates access to these jobs for Virginia residents. Overall, this bill aims to develop Virginia's film and television production industry by attracting new jobs and investments while leveraging the expertise of existing state agencies. It represents a targeted economic development initiative for an emerging sector.
Thank you for that presentation.
Thank you.
Any questions of the committee?
Madam Chair, my understanding is that the House budget has $1.5 million the first year and $500,000 the second year for this. The Senate budget doesn't include any funding at all. So I would move that we carry the bill over and continue this discussion in the conference, budget conference.
I'll second it.
There's a motion and a second that the bill be carried over. All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Gardner is next on the sign-up sheet. Good morning, Delegate Gardner.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. First, I'd like to start with the amendment, if the council would read the amendment.
You're on House Bill 1375?
We haven't seen it.
We haven't seen the substitute.
Yeah.
You have it? Could you please explain what the substitute says before we adopt it?
Madam Chair, the patron substitute would remove the publicly funded provider definition and thereby remove a definition section from the bill. It would specify that at-risk 4-year-olds would have to be Virginia residents for purposes of the Virginia Preschool Initiative, and it would also clarify that regional mixed delivery programs only provide full-day services, as I don't believe they provide half-day services, as was in the bill previously.
Okay.
And Madam Chair, this amendment was put forth by the Department of Education to further clarify what mixed delivery and the subsidy is.
Okay, let me first get a motion on the substitute.
I'll move the substitute.
It's been moved and seconded that the substitute be agreed to. All in favor say aye. Aye.
Okay. What 1375 does is simply codifies the two Virginia early childhood programs, mixed delivery program and child care subsidy program, and removes it from the General Appropriation Acts. The mixed delivery program is a Virginia-grown program that delivers publicly funded child care in community-based private sites where and when families need it. The Child Care Subsidy Program provides vouchers for eligible families to access child care from approved providers. Both programs are essential to Virginia's public-private choice-based early childhood education system and gives aid to working families. Virginia has come a long way in building a unified, equitable early childhood education system. This bill simply codifies that good work by codifying two key early childhood programs that support parent choice and access to quality, affordable child care options, the Mixed Delivery Program and the Child Care Subsidy Program.
Okay, committee, you've heard the presentation.
Question.
Senator Locke.
Does the substitute still put these programs in the code?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Madam Chair.
Senator Locke.
Well, actually, my question would be for the committee. Are we sure that we want to put this in the code?
I don't think I'm hearing staff. Senator McDougal.
Madam Chairman, I wasn't trying to actually talk on it, but I agree with Senator Locke. I think that these can be important programs, but it all depends on funding, and so that's why we've put them in the budget.
Correct. Senator Deeds.
Madam Chair, I'd move we carry the bill over and refer the matter to the Joint Subcommittee on K through 12 Education, that we're going to have exploring overall funding for our public schools.
You've heard a motion
I'll second.
and a second that the bill be carried over and that it be referred to the Joint Committee on K-12 to explore program funding. All in favor, say aye. Aye. The bill is carried over.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Next on the sign-up sheet, Delegate Fowler. Didn't see you behind that podium.
Good morning, Madam
You have
Chairman.
House Bill?
Member of the committee, it's House Bill 1513.
1513.
Madam Chair?
Yes, go right
I
ahead.
didn't hear what you said. You ready?
Yes, we're ready.
House Bill 1513 authorizes the Adjutant General to maintain a state active duty status for any Virginia National Guard service member injured while in the line of duty during the course of a state active duty mission who is unable, due to their injury, to return to civil employment. Such authorization is limited to 90 days after the date of the service member's injury. The pay and allowance to the service member will be equal to the lesser of the amount that the service member received from their civilian employment prior to the mobilization, or the amount of federal active duty pay and allowances for that service member's rank in years of service. Madam Chair, that is essentially the bill. Again, this does not require the adjutant, but it just allows them to do this if they believe it's necessary. And again, the fiscal impact was indeterminate. And that is essentially the bill, Madam Chair, members of the committee.
Well, thank you.
Yep.
Madam Chairman, looking at the analysis, I think there are probably a limited number of active duty individuals that this would apply to, but I think it's important for us to support our Guard members who are in active duty, so I'd move to report.
There's a motion and a second that the bill be reported. All in favor of that motion, please say aye. Aye. The bill passed.
All right. Thank
It's
you, Madam
reported.
Chairman, members of the committee. Appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you. There you are. Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair. I have House Bill 1518.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair. So we have two tax credit programs, the Major Research and Development Expense Tax Credit and the Research and Development Expenses Tax Credit. The Major Research and Development Expense is severely underused. The latter is overused. And so what this bill does is just takes $8 million from the program, the tax credit that is underused, places it in from the one that is overused, place it into the one that is overused. There's no fiscal impact. It's just sort of switching money around to make sure that folks are using their funds for the severely overused tax credit program.
Thank you. Any questions of the patron?
Madam Chairman, I don't know if this is for Delegate Glass or for one of our team, but is this been year over year, or is this just in the last year or two? Are we doing this permanently now, switching?
It has been a consistent issue where the research and development expense tax credit has been exhausted. The resources have been exhausted through that program. It has been a consistent thing. This is why it's brought forward to sort of put some more money into that so that folks can still use that tax credit while not doing any major harm to the major research and development tax expense, because it has been underused.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, to respond to Senator McDougal, you're switching the credit caps permanently on my read, but they have both been oversubscribed for multiple years.
Thank you for the explanation. Any further questions of Committee?
I move to report the bill.
It's been moved and seconded the bill be reported. All in favor of that motion, say aye. Noes have the same right. Aye. Bill has been recommended for report.
Gratitude, Madam Chair.
Looks like next on the stand-up sheet is Delegate Creasy,
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have two left.
and that's 527.
Madam Chair, can I start with 527? Okay. This is, Madam Chair, Committee, this authorizes nonprofit organizations to be able to conduct electronic athletic event drawings, 50-50 raffles. Right now, if you go to a game or anything like that, they can only do it in paper, and it's not conducive to doing big raffles for charities. Like if you were to go to Nationals Park and watch a baseball game, they have an electronic machine, and they do quite a lot for the charities. This would allow like NASCAR, Virginia Tech, any college, universities to do these 50-50 raffles. That's all it is. It's just moving it from paper to electronic. You could still do paper if you want to.
Any questions of the patron? House Bill 527 is the last bill that you have in this committee for the morning.
So I don't understand what you're doing here that we can't already do.
You can't right now. It's against the law, Madam Chair. It's against the law to use electronic machines to purchase the raffle tickets. If you go to a Nationals Park or a Cap Center, in D.C., they have the law where you can use an electronic machine. It spits out the tickets and it's all hooked up electronically. Right now, the only way you can do it in Virginia is you have to handwrite them, and it's only really good for at high schools and things like that. There's somebody here from NASCAR that can talk to it a little bit too. It wasn't their bill; it was my bill, but it does benefit, and we're the only state in all of NASCAR that doesn't allow it.
You clear, Senator Deeds?
I'm not really sure that I'm clear. I mean, you got a lobbyist here.
I mean, they can explain that how it's used in other places. But what I'm saying is, right now in the Virginia Code it's all just written down stuff. It's like little tickets and things like that. But if you go to a professional sports event, mostly in college and out of the state, if you go to D.C. or some other state that has it, they have a machine, and the person just plug it in your number, and you give them the credit card or cash, and you get your tickets. And at the end of the day, they pull out your ticket randomly through this electronic machine, and then you get 50% of the win, and 50% goes to the charity. In Virginia, you can't do that. You can only do it, and it's not really utilized because it's impossible to make it worthwhile because you have to sell just paper tickets.
Madam Chair and members of the committee, Chris Lloyd from Guar Woods on behalf of the NASCAR tracks, just to explain exactly what Delegate Krizik says. 50% of a 50-50 raffle, 50% of course goes to the winner. The other 50% goes to the charity, which is the recipient of the 50-50 raffle after expenses. And it is very expensive to run a paper ticket issuing system because you have to have people walking around writing out tickets through the stands. And when you're at the Richmond Raceway, for example, you have 60,000 people in the stands. Writing out paper tickets takes a long time, and you employ a lot of people in order to write those tickets, so it reduces the amount that is available to the charity. Whereas if you have an electronic system, it reduces significantly the amount of the expenses, and more money goes to the charity.
So, Madam Chair,
Senator Deeds.
I wonder how Joe Blow at the racetrack knows whether he's in a gray machine or a charitable raffle. I mean,
so, Madam Chair, Senator Deeds. So if you go to, I know this because I go to a lot of sporting events in D.C. and if you go to a football game or a baseball game or whatever, they have people walk around with the machines on them. It's almost like, it's like having a laptop or something, and they come up and they sell you the tickets. So if you give them $20, they give you 5 tickets. and then each ticket's got a number. At the end of, like in the 8th inning, they put on the board the number of the ticket that wins, and then you get 50% of that, and the other 50% goes to the charity that's been designated by the baseball team or by the college or by NASCAR or whatever it is. So it has nothing to do with like any kind of a slot machine or anything like that. It's a raffle ticket. It's just selling raffle tickets, and it's using technology that every other state uses electronically.
I'm turning to the committee. Questions, comments, or motion?
Madam Chair, I just have some questions about this, and I'm going to move to carry the bill over.
Okay. There's a motion? Second. And a second that the bill be carried over. All in favor of that motion, please say aye. 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 4 ayes. Delegate Creasy, that's the last bill that I have.
No, I have 1273. Maybe it's in another committee. That's okay. Thanks. Sorry, my bad. All right. Thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Chair.
You may.
Upstairs in 13. Okay. Thank you.
I'll see you later.
Okay. Are you going to be up there? Thank you.
I promise you I will. Thank you. Delegate McClure. The sign-up sheet.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. HB 1216 creates the Employee Child Care Assistance Pilot Program to incentivize employers to contribute to the child care costs of their employees by issuing and matching state funds directly to the eligible providers. So this pilot would be administered by the Virginia Early Childhood Foundation, who will report on the effectiveness of the pilot by July 1st, 2026 to inform consideration of next steps. And in order to participate in the pilot program, an employer shall agree to make child care contributions to the eligible mixed delivery provider on behalf of the employee. So the pilot program funds shall come on a first-come, first-served basis, but the foundation is encouraged to prioritize and award funds to small businesses. Madam Chair, members of the subcommittee, it is my hope that you would support HB 1216.
You've heard the presentation by Delegate McClure.
Madam Chair, it's my understanding the House budget has $2 million each year for the program. The Senate budget doesn't, but I move we pass the bill by for the day so we can discuss this in the budget conference.
In the budget conference. Okay. There's a motion and a second that the bill be passed by for the day to be discussed in the budget conference. All in favor of that motion, please say aye. Aye. Aye.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the subcommittee.
You're very welcome. I need to look at my sign-up sheet here. Is Delegate Tran here? Delegate Tran's name? Going by the sign-up sheet. Who is on that one?
Here.
Delegate, her name is on this sign-up sheet.
Okay, good morning.
Good morning.
My bill is HB 407, a very simple bill. Simply says that if a family receives benefits through either Medicaid or WIC, then they are deemed categorically eligible to meet the income requirements of the child care subsidy program. It's just a small change to make it a little bit easier for families to access the program, and that's the bill.
You heard the presentation by the patron. Any questions of the members of the committee?
Madam Chair, I move to report.
Second. There's a motion and a second that the bill be reported. All in favor say aye. Bill is reported.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee.
Sorry you had to wait so long, but it is a sign-up sheet.
Delegate Willett.
Delegate Willett.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. I have HB 1203. Good. Madam Chair, I think you and the members of the committee know we have a housing crisis in Virginia, and one way we've tried to address that is for a program that's called the Communities of Opportunity Tax Credit. This incentivizes housing providers to participate in the Housing Choice Voucher Program. It works to decentralize poverty by opening up new communities in which the voucher holders can opt to relocate. 2 years ago, we the General Assembly expanded that tax credit from just the Northern Virginia, Richmond, and Tidewater areas to statewide availability. The good news is that geographic expansion has allowed more families in rural, suburban, and smaller cities to take advantage of the credit. The issue we have now is the program's oversubscribed. And this bill would increase the tax credit pool from $250,000 to $500,000. It also earmarks $100,000 for a pilot program to focus on some of the rural and less urban areas. Madam Chair, welcome any questions from the committee.
Any questions by members of the committee?
Madam Chair, move the report.
Second.
There's a motion and a second that the bill be reported. All in favor of that motion say aye. Those saying right, aye. The bill is reported.
Madam Chair, thank you so much.
You're welcome, Delegate Willett.
Delegate Willett has.
Do you have a second bill?
Did not mean to forget that. There's a last minute addition.
Yes, 1069.
Yes, ma'am. And yes, Madam Chair, that's the vaping registry bill, which is identical to Senator Deeds' SB 550. This is creating a registry program for the vaping products. I think we all also know we have a real issue in Virginia with too much access to this product. It's unregulated. The FDA is not adequately regulating, so the state is trying to put a structure in to regulate it. This, again, would parallel Senator Deeds' bill and set up that structure to register these products and try to make the consumers more aware of what's out there.
Okay.
It's a registry bill.
It's a registry bill.
And Madam Chair, my notes say it's nearly identical. Are there conforming amendments we need to make, or is it?
Madam Chair, Senator Deeds, did you remove the enactment clause yesterday in Commerce?
We removed the
enactment. It's
enactment
identical
clause.
now.
Okay. So I move the report.
Second.
There's a motion and a second that the bill be reported. All in favor say aye. Aye. Got 4 ayes here. Have a good day.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Delegate Garrett.
Delegate Garrett. I don't know how you got to the spot on the list, but anyway, good morning.
Madam Chair, I'm so happy to be here. I would have waited another 30 minutes.
Thank you.
House Bill 496 attempts to address a real problem in Virginia, and that is how we handle our waste tires. In 1988, we passed a waste tire management bill. The funds were subsequently stripped from the program over the years. Right now, Virginia ranks 4th worst in the nation in waste tire management. We have 8.4 million surplus tires every year in the Commonwealth. Of those, 1.6 million are currently not properly disposed of by our best estimates. 70% of the microplastics in the ocean come from tires. The James River alone provides 3 million Virginians roughly with water in one way, shape, or form or another. And what drove me to carry this bill was the fact that my district lies on the James River. It has the Appomattox River, the Rivanna River, the Hardware River, the Slate River, and you can't float 100 yards down the James River outside of Scottsville, Virginia, and not see 50 or 60 tires laying on the bottom. And it's disgusting. And so what this bill does is it redefines hauler tire and waste tire in the code. It makes DEQ's current voluntary registry for waste tire haulers mandatory. It strengthens the penalty for improper disposal of tires. It expands the purpose of the Waste Tire Fund to provide reimbursement for haulers as well as reimbursement for people cleaning up waste tire sites. And I'll digress for a moment, Madam Chair. In my county, I think 2 weeks ago, they found a site with 10,000 waste tires. It is incredible. So if you know people in a rural area on a farm, they can generally tell you where the waste tires are dumped. If you float down one of Virginia's rivers, if you're drinking water that comes out of one of Virginia's rivers in Hampton Roads, you are getting particulate matter filtered through your water distributor, and this is a problem for obvious reasons, so we're attempting to address that. As it relates to fiscal impact, Madam Chair, and I'll conclude here, the revenue in the bill outstrips the expenditures 15 or 20 to 1, depending upon the year, and so I would lay this. By the way, there are a number of people from DEQ to Friends of the James River to the Forestry Department all here if the committee wishes to speak on behalf of the bill, and I don't think anyone opposes it.
You heard a presentation from the patron. Any questions or comment from the committee? Motion? Senator Locke?
Delegate, why the big increase? Why the big jump?
So what we needed to do was keep DEQ whole as it relates to the money from the original waste tire management program. So there's about $2 million a year allocated for them to continue to use so that there's no negative fiscal impact. And then the big jump is to incentivize the proper disposal of these waste tires by incentivizing the haulers and the people who are recycling tires. The problem has come largely as we sought to clean up our environment with relation to emissions. The bulk of waste tires had previously been burned for energy production in North Carolina. That's obviously going away because it's very dirty. And and there's also funding in the jump, we hope, for the exploration of other alternatives for the waste tire usage. But right now you can't put a waste tire in a landfill. It floats to the top. And so we got to chip these tires. There aren't enough playgrounds on the planet Earth to use the 1.6 million surplus tires that we have every year that we're not properly disposing of. So that's the reason for the revenue generation, is to address this problem. But again, I mean, it's embarrassing how bad we are compared to our peers nationally. This is obviously not a bill that a lot of people might have expected me to carry, but I mean, I'm lucky enough to spend time on our rivers in Virginia, and it doesn't get much more obvious than floating down the river, looking out of the canoe, and having your 6-year-old go, "Daddy, what's that?" "Oh, that's a tire." "Oh, that's another tire." So.
Thank you for that explanation.
Madam
Senator
Chair,
Locke?
Madam Chair, it's the significant cost jump in the prices that concerns me. And with that, my recommendation would be to pass by indefinitely.
There's a motion and a second that the bill be passed by indefinitely. All in favor of that motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. 3 aye, 1 no.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you,
Y'all have a
Senator.
great day.
Thank you, too. Thanks. Delegate Simon, I think we have 2 more bills to be heard from you. Okay, you want to take 258 first?
Yes, thank you. HB 258 adjusts the maximum valuation of tax delinquent property subject to a non-judicial sale from $25,000 up to $40,000 in order to assist with urban revitalization. This bill is limited to unimproved properties in designated redevelopment areas of 1/2 acre or less. It was brought to me by the City of Newport News.
Move to report. Second.
There's a motion and a second that the bill be reported. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
That bill is reported. Delegate Simon, you have House Bill 360.
Yes. So House Bill 360 is recommendation 16 from the JLARC Education Report. I found it because it was about collecting data that I think is going to be really important for us moving forward as we try to reform our funding formula. The JLARC study found that the SOQ calculated funding amounts are substantially less than the actual funding and benchmarks, and we need to make sure that our schools receive the money that they actually need. JLARC reported that the SOQ formula calculated divisions needed $10.7 billion when, in fact, they spent $17.3 billion. This bill would simply ask that the Department of Education biennially compare the difference between the fixed staffing ratios in the formula and what schools actually spend.
Madam Chair.
Senator Locke.
Madam Chair, there's a lot of information coming out of the JLARC report that we're going to have to identify and study, and the additional data that's being requested in House Bill 360 is part of that. So my recommendation would be to continue House Bill 360 and send it to the joint committee, the joint K-12 subcommittee for further evaluation on staffing ratios and to examine the funding formula. So I would move that we continue House Bill 360.
Second.
There's a motion and a second that the bill be continued. All in favor of that motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Noes have the same. 4 ayes. That bill will be carried over.
Okay. Chair Lucas, would it be possible to have a letter from you to the new K education fair funding subcommittee asking them to look at this?
I'm sure that can happen.
Okay, thank you so
Madam
much.
Chair, we have a whole list of bills that are going to be going to the joint subcommittee. So.
Exactly.
All right, thank you.
And I understand that there's one more bill that we need. Was that 1099? Which Congress Fowler.
414.
Yeah. Congress Fowler's not here, so if staff would cover that, would be helpful.
Madam Chair, House Bill 414 relates to local records recording and indexing fees. It prohibits any clerk of circuit court from assessing a separate recording and indexing fee for one document that contains 2 or more instruments that may serve independent legal purposes, unless it's requested for those 2 documents to be recorded in more than a single instance. And then it removes the requirement for recordation tax on a quit claim deed when no consideration is passed between the 2 parties if the deed shows on its face that there's been no consideration passed.
In the absence of Delegate Converse Fowler, I think we'll take some public comment if there's any. Anyone in favor of the bill would like to speak? Opposition? Comments by the committee or motion? On the other bills on page 2, I need a motion.
I'll move to pass the bill by.
There's a motion and a second that the bill be passed by indefinitely. All in favor of that motion, please say aye. Aye. The bill is passed by indefinitely. We have about we have a little bit more. But we have enough time to hear one more bill or rehear a bill before we go to the next committee. And I understand that there's several people who wanted to provide some testimony on House Bill 1099. So if I could get Delegate Kilgore to return to the microphone.
You want me to reconsider the motion?
Mr. Collins, this is subcommittee. It's just a recommendation.
Just a recommendation.
Yeah, this is a recommendation, so you can go on without us calling for reconsideration. Delegate Kilgore. Do you have people who would like to testify?
I do not have anyone that would like to testify. Thank you.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ladies and gentlemen, members of the committee, B. Gonzalez representing Philip Morris International. I'm pretty tired this morning as well about this bill. Seeing the substitute, I appreciate all the work that's gone into this. This is, I think, the 11th substitute we've seen. We've met with the AG's office, Delegate Kilgore, and countless legal memos. And we're still a little disappointed with the substitute that was passed out originally this morning. A couple of questions. It's unfortunate to see. I'm glad that you've kept the heated tobacco products category, because I think that's the arena that most tobacco manufacturers are headed into. I think Altria has a SWIC product that is a heated tobacco product that is not rolled up in paper, so that will be captured in the tax code. Not sure what that tax rate will be, so that's another question, whether it's a 10% OTP tax. It's not really outlined in the substitute. It is unfortunate that our product has been removed from the heated tobacco category and put as a cigarette, which is fine. So we do appreciate the lower tax rate. But the main problem that we have at this point is the heated tobacco stamp at the enactment clause. There's no money in the budget for this particular stamp, so we cannot sell this product and be certified to sell this product until that stamp is created. So if there's a commitment from this committee that that will be funded, that would be fantastic, because then we have the ability to sell the product if the stamp is created. That's not, we feel like we're at a competitive disadvantage if we can't sell the product until that stamp is created and we are certified by the AG's office. So that's still a concern of ours in the substitute. There was some discussion in the House whether there was a double taxation issue, so we want to make sure that that's not the case, and wanted to make those clarifications. I know that there's been a lot of discussion on this bill about losing MSA funds, and I just want to repeat it several times. There's no risk. And the discussion from the AG's office was that this bill needed to be passed for non-compliance to the MSA. We don't believe that to be the case. Virginia receives a fixed percentage of the national cigarette sales volumes, and Altria and RJR can't withhold those payments outright. The amount of MSA payments or any potential adjustment under the 2012 NPM Adjustment Settlement Agreement. So the risk and the scare tactics that you had heard throughout the lobbying efforts of this bill that the MSA compliance was at risk is just not a real threat. And so I just wanted to make sure you knew that. We had every intention as we met with the AG's office to make our payments into escrow, but we still do have some serious concerns with the substitute, and if those can be addressed throughout the process, that would be greatly appreciated. I don't know if Jake Jacobs from PMI also wants to say a few words, but we appreciate the work that's gone into this. I know this is a very complicated bill, and I appreciate you allowing us to mention our concerns this morning, Madam Chair.
Okay, Jay, I need you to come forward, but I need the staff attorney to explain to us about the double taxation. That's a big concern.
Madam Chair, under the substitute, double taxation is impossible. There are two separate definitions in the bill. Cigarettes intended to be heated are by definition cigarettes. Heated tobacco products are things other than cigarettes intended to be heated. So while the budget still has language that would tax heated tobacco products, they are subject to different taxes. Cigarettes intended to be heated are taxed under the cigarette tax. Heated tobacco products, consistent with the budget language, are taxed at that rate.
So would there need to be a change to the budget language potentially? Is that what that's what Chairman Watts had mentioned to us?
There would be no need to change the budget because the cigarette tax is imposed only on cigarettes intended to be heated, and heated tobacco products, to the extent those products are placed into the market, will be subject to the budgetary tax.
Which is, what's the rate? Is that an OTP tax? Is that a 10% tax?
As introduced, it was a 2.25 cent per stick rate, just like the cigarettes intended to be heated tax.
So heated tobacco products that don't have sticks in the future, like a capsule, how would those be treated? Because that's a
Madam
different...
Chair, when those products come to market, I think the committee would have to look at the budget and consider changing how those products are taxed. But at the moment, they aren't in market.
Thank you. Would you still like to come forward and speak? Come forward.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My name is Jake Jacobs. I'm the Director of State Government Affairs for the Southeast, Philip Morris International. I want to echo several of the comments that Bea made and also dig a little bit further into some of the issues we see with this legislation. This came as a bit of a surprise to see this year. There, like Bea said, have been around 11 substitutes. All of them have attempted to get close to a long-term policy solution, but none of them have put the nail on the head. While, like Bea said, one of the issues with the current language is stamping and the enactment clause attached to that stamping in lines 184 through 188. That delayed enactment, while it does give time to create a specific TAMP for a state excise tax, there's ambiguity around what that would mean at the local level. There's currently 130 localities that put a tax on cigarettes that wouldn't necessarily account for the changes in Section A, subsections 1 and 2 that define cigarette and cigarette intended to be heated for state excise tax purposes. So that ambiguity there would be something that could potentially cause issues at the wholesaler and distribution level when they have to purchase stamps from the Department of Taxation to create those. It's one thing to create one wholesale stamp for one category, but to then do that 130 or more times for each locality would certainly place an undue burden and certainly further delay what is already significantly ambiguous and certainly an indefinite delay that this legislation would impose. The other issue we see with this is that there are other solutions. For instance, we have proposed to several stakeholders in this debate the option simply to keep the heated tobacco product category as it is, maintaining that underlying harm reduction policy, and then just mirror a stamping requirement under that section of the code. There is no such thing as an MSA compliant state excise tax definition. Anything that captures the requirements in the units sold under underlying qualifying statute of the MSA would be satisfactory for the state to be able to count and certify those products. And that would certainly satisfy any perceived risk to the MSA, which is be articulated. We don't see any currently, but if this legislation is something that we desire to tackle this year, there's other solutions that would be more streamlined and create a more long-term policy fix for this. As it stands, there's clearly several issues with this bill. We would urge the committee to continue this so that we can take more time as we make decisions about anywhere that we may announce this product coming to market. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you for your comments. Any questions of the speaker by members of the committee? Would you like to come speak, sir? Please come forward. Thank you, Jay.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, Jeff Smith here on behalf of the Virginia wholesalers and distributors. I want to thank the patron, been very generous with his time, as well as the stakeholders. We're the folks that are kind of caught in the middle here because at the end of the day, when everyone leaves the building, us, along with Department of Tax, are the ones that have to end up implementing this. From our standpoint, we're the licensed distributors. We purchase the stamps. The tax is paid up front. We prepay that. And last year to the Commonwealth, it was to the tune of $200 million in stamp purchases. When you add the local side to that, it was $100 million in stamp purchases. That money went to the various localities that implement their local cigarette tax. And I will say, with the new stamp, the localities are going to have to be required, based on state code, to purchase the same stamp technology as the Commonwealth. And so the various localities will also have to have the two stamps. Again, we just ask and appreciate you all looking out for us who are kind of caught in the middle here, being the wholesalers and distributors. Last thing I'll say, the reports that we provide to the Department of Tax are also provided to the Attorney General's office, and those are used for the significant evidence that is turned over to meet the significant evidence for the master settlement payments. So we play a critical role in this. We are caught in the middle, but we are a critical piece, and so we appreciate your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Senator McDougall.
Madam Chairman. For Jeff, if you could. Why couldn't they just use the same stamps we use otherwise with a different name on it?
Are you saying the current stamp that's used? Because the packaging is different, it's smaller, and especially with the local side, if we're going to have to put two stamps on it, I'll candidly tell you that some localities are a bit more aggressive in their audits, and they end up confiscating stuff that is, quote, partially stamped. They confiscate them. We never see them again, so we have no right to dispute a lot of those situations, and so we have to buy a new product and we have to buy new stamps up front.
Thank you for that comment. Any further questions of the committee? Any comments? Motion? No, we already did the motions. We just came back to hear the testimony. There being no further business before this committee, before we rise, I want to let everybody know that the time change for our next meeting is at 9:30, because you all thought that we just went over 8 minutes. But the next meeting is 9:30. See you upstairs.
Here. It's here.
We'll see you here at 9:30.
Senate of Virginia, Richmond, Virginia.